Welcome in to this live edition of the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for spending part of your Tuesday afternoon with us. Coming up on today's show, we have the latest Baltimore Ravens news and rumors as we will be discussing the possibility of the Ravens trading for Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. Also, we'll break down the new Mel Kiper Jr. mock draft that just got released today and find out who he has your Ravens taking. Also, we'll do a live Q&A mailbag, and then at the end of the show, I will do my third mock draft for the Ravens. Mock Draft 3.0 coming up at the end of the show today, where we will provide reaction to a look at what the Ravens could be picking here throughout all 7 rounds. We'll dive in depth into all of that and more coming up in just a little while from right now. As we get the show started, this is our build-up portion where we encourage you guys to get in the chat, get a little lively. And here's what I want to do. For everyone that shouts out your city, tells us where you're watching from, then we're going to shout you out here on the show today. So let us know where you guys are watching from. Shout out your city as we get things started, and I'll shout you out. I am live here in the Chat Sports Studios in Dallas, Texas, joined today by Sam Brown, who's holding things down on the ones and twos. Sam, welcome back. How we doing?
It's another day in paradise. We're excited to talk some Ravens, talk some more Lamar Jackson for what feels like the umpteenth time, but that's how the offseason goes. Fans sometimes don't realize, and they get annoyed, and I get it, whenever we keep talking about certain players, and they're like, don't talk about these players. They're not getting traded, whatever it is. This is exactly where we were last season with Russell Wilson and Seahawks fans everywhere. Don't trade. They're not trading Russell Wilson. Stop talking about it. It's not going to happen. And then it happened.
Right.
And so the offseason is huge, and so that's why we got to continue bringing all the latest updates to the Ravens flock.
Yeah, I see Jacob checking in from Maryland. King is in Baltimore. Got a Whitty in Germany. Got an international audience today. That's awesome to see. Jimmy with an IE, kind of like Jimmy Johnson, the race car driver, checking in from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Glad to have all of you guys here. As you file in, tell us where you're watching from. We'll shout you guys out. I see Richard checking in from Urbandale, Iowa. Mike says from upstate Rochester, Lamar wants out a day after Nelson visits. Eric DaCosta must go. Michael, you make an interesting point there. Michael, thanks for joining us and being a part of what we're doing here on the channel today. Also, as you guys tell us where you're watching from and shout out your city, also want you to grade the Ravens offseason so far. The league year officially began last week, and the Ravens haven't really done much. They've cut a couple of players, and they've made a couple of re-signings, but no new players to the Ravens roster at this point in time. Lamar does not have a contract. He hasn't been traded either. We're still sitting on him on the non-exclusive franchise tag. I'll put it this way. My grade for the Ravens, I can't give it anything higher than a C, but I can't necessarily give it an F or really even a D either, because the way I look at it, Sam, they haven't made any bad moves. They haven't done anything that just has us all shaking our heads being like, what the hell are they doing here? But they haven't done anything great either. Nothing has happened. They've kind of just stayed stale where they are. I think that's kind of a C, because there hasn't been anything dumb, but hasn't been anything aggressive and great either.
In my eyes, the grade is incomplete, because you don't really know when
right.
They don't even really know what's going to happen under center, and that's the biggest qualifier of this entire offseason for Baltimore. If Lamar Jackson winds up being gone to where it winds up being more of an emphasis in the draft, you can't really know, you can't really give it a grade until you know what these picks turn out to be. So I feel that side of things, but I also get if Ravens fans are like, dude, this is a D offseason or something like that. They haven't done anything, because that's the case.
Yeah, that's all fair. Jacob says F, they have not done anything yet. Whitty says clearly a D+. What do you guys say? Grade the Ravens offseason so far at this point, and we'll shout you out and get you on the show here as we get going here on the Ravens Rundown. Also, will Lamar Jackson return to the Ravens? That is the million-dollar question. We've been asking for quite some time if Lamar will be back in Baltimore or not after this offseason. And here we are. Lamar has been available for about a week to officially talk to teams and everything, and nothing has happened. He has not received an offer publicly to our knowledge that the Ravens have had the opportunity to match, and there has been no movement as far as a trade front or anything like that. We're all just kind of just sitting here playing the waiting game at this point. We've heard reports that Lamar would be willing to play on the franchise tag, but that kind of just prolongs all of these negotiations that we've been talking about here. Will Lamar return to Baltimore next season? Right now, I think yes. Now, things could change. You could have a team decide out of nowhere that they want to go ahead and try to make an offer towards Lamar and bring him in, but at the moment, doesn't appear to be the case. He seems like he's the Ravens guy at this point. Sam, unless somebody comes out of left field and says, we want him, here's what we're willing to do, which hasn't happened yet, all signs point to Lamar is going to be back next year. It's just a matter of what the money looks like.
The leverage side of things is what's really been interesting to me in this entire Lamar Jackson situation, because I think 2 weeks ago we would have said, well, Lamar has all of the leverage in this situation because there will be someone out there that wants to pay him.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 weeks have unfolded, the market's been dry, and now it seems like the Ravens have the leverage in the situation, which, again, I think it's the public eye, but we had no expectation that that would be the case. And so I think the fact that Baltimore's in this situation right now, they don't necessarily have to force the issue as much.
Right.
Because as far as we're concerned, there isn't that interest at that price point of paying Lamar his tag, potentially a big long-term deal, and having to give up the next 2 years of first-round picks.
Right, yeah. So if you think Lamar will return to the Ravens or not, Y for yes, in for no, feel free to elaborate in the comments section. Richard gave an F for the Ravens offseason so far at this point. Richard also asked a question about OBJ. Use the hashtag Ravens if you want to get on the mailbag, or you can super chat. That gets you to the front of the line in our mailbag. King checking in from Newton, Kansas. Been to Newton many times. Great place. King, thanks for checking in there. We're going to talk plenty of draft on today's show. The NFL draft coming up in just over a month from right now. We'll break down Mel Kiper's newest mock draft, who he has the Ravens selecting at 22 overall. I also have my full in-depth mock draft for all 7 rounds that we're going to be getting to later on. But I want to know who you guys think the Ravens should draft. So far, back to the other question, Richard said yes, the Ravens will have Lamar back. Mike and James say no. Marco and King. Marco says yes. King says no. But who should the Ravens draft? I have been adamant that they need to get a receiver. And you look at the receivers out there, whether it's the likes of Quentin Johnston, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers. I think all of those guys would be good options for Baltimore. If some reason those 4 are gone, then you're looking at the cornerback position and seeing who's potentially available there, whether it's a Joey Porter Jr. or Witherspoon or Deontay Banks. That's the way I think this goes. I think the Ravens look at one of those top receivers. If they're gone, then shift their focus potentially to that cornerback position. Let us know who you think the Ravens should draft. Joshua says Quentin Johnston. Mike says pass rush is what they should draft there. So we'll see what the Ravens do. Also, Richard checking in says Joey Porter Jr. Joey Porter Jr., wouldn't that be interesting after his dad spent all those years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, if he found his way to Baltimore? That'd be crazy if that was the case. Whitty says Addison. I got more on Jordan Addison that we'll talk about later on the possibility of him coming to Baltimore as well. Mailbag coming up later. Got a question that you want to ask on the show, you want to get on screen? Well, here's what you need to do. Use the hashtag Ravens, or you can super chat, and that will get you to the front of the line. And the only way you could guarantee to get your question on screen is by super chatting. We'll try to get as many questions as we can with the hashtag Ravens, but you guys get so many comments in there. The only way I can guarantee to get to yours is if you super chat. So hashtag Ravens or super chat, and you can skip the line and super chat to get your mailbag question in. We will start the show coming up in just a few moments officially. We are at 11 likes right now. I think we can do a bit more than that. If you are a Baltimore Ravens fan, if you love that we're doing these live shows and being a part of Ravens Rundown, which just eclipsed 9,000 subscribers here on the channel, then go ahead and hit that like button. It's a free option to support us. Helps out the algorithm so more people can see what we're doing and be a part of the channel here. So the easiest way you can help out. I know we love the super chats and all that, but just hitting that like button, commenting, subscribing, being active, that helps us a lot here on the channel. We're at 13 right now. I think we can get to if we get to 20, which is not asking much, that's just 7 more, then I'm going to crack open a cold beer, and I'm going to take a little sip for you. So 5 more likes, and we'll get to that. Speaking of which, we have our first ever Ravens Rundown Super Chat menu. Okay? So the last time we did a live show, you guys were sending in Super Chats, and we had people asking for the wave and stuff like that. So I said to producer Sam, I said, you know what? You guys deserve a Super Chat menu. We ought to have a little bit of fun with you. So with your Super Chats, not only can you participate in the mailbag, but any Super Chat that's going to get you a shout-out, you get on the show right away. $2, you can ask me or producer Sam anything that's on your mind. Whatever you want to ask, we'll answer it to you. Doesn't even have to be football related to the Ravens. We'll cover that for you. $5, we'll do the wave. For whatever reason, some of you Ravens fans just are obsessed and love the wave. So for every $5, we'll give the wave. Why not? $10, we will take a shot of liquor. I'm not kidding. I have Fireball in hand right here. Every $10, we'll take a shot. And $20, we will chug said beer. I'm 4 likes away from cracking open this Coors Light and enjoying ourselves here to start this day out on the right foot. And just so you know, by the way, the mountains are blue, so you know this is a legit Coors Light right here. 4 more likes, we can start the show. I'll take a little sip. 1 more like away. I'm going to go ahead and crack it open, and we'll get this thing started here on this Tuesday afternoon. Sam, before we start here real quick, free agency was just wild, the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
And now we're kind of easing back into things, and I got to say, it's good to be here with the flock, and the Ravens, everyone else was spending money the last, couple days or so. The Ravens kind of just sitting back patiently. I'm still waiting. It's like everybody else got off to a head start of some sorts. Cheers to the flock.
That was kind of the joke in the office all last week of we're giving all these teams grades and good move, bad move, and then there's the Ravens. They're just kind of doing their thing,
right?
Hanging out.
So
it's always got to be somebody. There's always got to be some team every year that just doesn't do a thing.
Exactly. Well, the Ravens. Let's talk draft and more. We got Mel Kiper's latest mock draft. We're also going to talk about the trade possibility for Courtland Sutton. Plenty to get to as we begin here on this live edition of the Ravens Rundown. Thanks for joining us, Sam. We good to go? Get started? All right, let's get after it. Welcome in to the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up on today's show, we have the latest Baltimore Ravens news and rumors. We will be discussing the possibility of trading for Courtland Sutton. Also breaking down Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft, who he has your Ravens selecting at 22. We'll tell you coming up in just a moment. Before we do that, folks, we have reached 9,000 subscribers here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for helping us reach this monumental milestone here on the channel. It's my pleasure to be talking about your Baltimore Ravens each and every day, and we want to bring you more content, so we want to keep growing this thing and keep adding more subscribers here. And you can subscribe now for free. It doesn't cost you a thing. YouTube.com/RavensTV. As a reward for getting to 9,000 subscribers, I promised that I would take a few sips of alcohol. We will do that. Stay tuned for the end of the show. In the meantime, if you're subscribed to the channel, type me in the comments. Spam the comments if you are subscribed. If you're one of our awesome 9,000 subscribers, maybe you're just now subscribing. Whatever it may be, type me in the comment section. We'll shout you out here on a later edition of the Ravens Rundown. We begin today with an update from Bleacher Report, as BR is naming the Ravens as a top landing spot for Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton. Now, to kind of take a couple steps back, remember the Broncos have talked about trading Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton. Both players have been on the trade block of some sorts. we've kind of talked more so about Jerry Jeudy within the last couple of weeks, but Courtland Sutton might be the guy that is more likely to be traded of some sorts potentially. And let's go ahead and tell you why that could be the case, why Courtland Sutton could find his way to Baltimore. This is according to Alex Ballantyne of Bleacher Report. He says on Sutton here, he'll turn 28 during the season, which isn't exactly old, but Jeudy will turn 24 in April. That's a whole contract's worth of an age difference. The Ravens only have 5 draft picks in 2023 event, so trading away a first-rounder is not ideal for them, but the asking price for Sutton would be even more doable. Now, the 28 was obviously comparing Sutton to Jeudy, but with that said, you're talking about even 4 years seems like a lot of time, right? He is a little bit older, but the success has been there for Courtland Sutton. A Pro Bowler back in 2019. 2018, of course, he was a second-round pick out of SMU. And for the most part, we've seen Courtland Sutton be pretty reliable, playing 65 games in 5 career seasons, except for the 2020 season when he tore his ACL and played just 1 game that season. Other than that, he's been pretty dependable. The numbers for Courtland Sutton, the Pro Bowl year he had back in 2019 was spectacular. Over 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, 15.4 average. 2021 had 776 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2022 had 829 yards, 2 touchdowns. And think about this, too. The numbers he's put up has been with average to below average quarterback play there in Denver. What could he do if you paired him up with Lamar Jackson, potentially? Now, I'll say this. I'm not opposed to the idea of trading for Courtland Sutton. I think he's a very talented player, and he'd help this Ravens team a lot. But even with that said, aren't there better options out there? I mean, what have we talked about in this channel before? DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, some of these other names. I think there's better guys you could go after instead of Courtland Sutton. Even Jerry Jeudy, I'd rather have. So with that said, should the Ravens trade for Courtland Sutton? Would you like to see this be the move the Ravens make? If you would, type Y for yes. If not, type in for no. This is our ad pin combo today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Y for yes, in for no if the Ravens should trade Courtland Sutton. Next up on the program, let's talk about Mel Kiper Jr.'s latest mock draft that came out this morning. And Mel is projecting that the Ravens take Boston College wide receiver Zay Flowers at 22 overall. Here's what Mel had to say about the potential selection. The dynamic Flowers is a favorite of mine in this class. While some in the NFL see him strictly as a slot receiver, he actually had 5 touchdowns when lined up outside last season and 7 from the slot. Though he's only 5'9", he could be used elsewhere. He forced 25 missed tackles last season, 3rd most in the country for a wideout. He could thrive with Jackson in Baltimore, especially with new coordinator Todd Monken opening up the offense. Zay Flowers, according to Mel, has him as the number 1 best wide receiver in the entire draft. And that is different than even a few weeks ago. I think Zay Flowers at one point on Mel's big board was the number 4 or number 5 wide receiver. Now he has made his way up to number 1 and the 16th player overall. So this is a guy that is starting to climb up these draft boards. 2-time All-First-Teamer in the ACC. And this past year, he set a couple different records, including the single-season receiving touchdown record there at Boston College, had 12 this past season. More on Zay Flowers in a moment. We'll get you some details on Zay Flowers, let you get to know him a little bit further. I'll give my thoughts on this in just a second. But before we do, how would you grade Mel Kiper Jr.'s pick of Zay Flowers to Baltimore? You like that idea? You know I like the idea of drafting a receiver. But do you like it being this receiver? Let me know. A, B, C, D, or F. Tell me in the comments section what you think about the possibility of Zay Flowers heading to the Baltimore Ravens. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know. The numbers on Flowers in his time at Boston College. In 2022, the season where he set that touchdown record was spectacular. Over 1,000 yards receiving on 78 catches, 13.8 average. 2021 was solid, 746 yards, 5 touchdowns. 2020 had 56 catches, 892 yards, and 9 touchdowns. It was 2020 and 2022. Remember, those were the years that he was all ACC first team. I'll say this. Zay Flowers is not my favorite wide receiver in this draft. That's where I disagree with Mel when it comes to these receivers. I personally would take Jackson Smith-Njigba, Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, any of those three before I would take Zay Flowers. Now, that's not saying that I wouldn't take Zay Flowers. If those three are off the board, I'll take Zay Flowers before I would take another position. But I prefer these other guys. And for kind of the reasons that Mel lined out is why I kind of disagree. Zay Flowers, I think, has limitations. I think you're looking at a guy that is going to be limited to being a slot receiver of sorts at times and not having the deep threat ability that we've seen from Jackson Smith-Njigba. We know that JSN can do everything of what he did at Ohio State. Quentin Johnston obviously is a huge deep threat, has massive size with his body frame. And then there's Jordan Addison, who does a little bit of everything himself. So with that, Zay Flowers, talented player. Not knocking him at all. Don't get me wrong. I think that any team would be glad to have Zay Flowers, but I like the other three first before Zay Flowers personally. That's where I disagree with Mel. So name a player you think the Ravens should draft, whether it's Zay Flowers, maybe it's one of the other receivers we talked about. Maybe you think they should go defense. Let me know in the comment section. Name a player that you would like to see your Baltimore Ravens draft here on today's show. Very curious what you guys think. Now, as promised, since we reached 9,000 subscribers on the channel, I owe you guys not one, not two, not three. No, I owe you 9 shots of liquor. And so I will pay that off right now and get these done one by one. To the flock. Here we go. 1. And another. 2. Starting to feel it. Oh, here's the third one. 3. All right, we're third of a way there. Got to keep going. 4. Cheers. This next one is hoping that a Lamar Jackson deal gets done. Here's to 5. The 6th one is hoping that the Ravens know what they're doing when it comes to their next draft pick. Hopefully a wide receiver. Number 6. Oh, my gosh. This is something else. Can I make it? 3 more to go, folks. 3 more. All right. 3 for Dale. Raise hell, praise Dale, right? All right, 2 more to go. This is something, folks. 2 more, but you guys deserve it. Here is number 8. Okay. You guys, man, last one for the flock. 9,000 subscribers. We did it. Here's to 10,000 subscribers. We'll get to that milestone next. If you like what you saw today, you need to be following me on Twitter because I can have a good time and talk football, or we can have some drinks together on social media as well. And I'm there, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, at Tyler Jones Live. That's where you can find me. The show rolls on there. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us here on the channel. All right.
How you feeling?
Sam, I'm feeling great.
I see just a stack of shot glasses now just right next to me.
Here they are. Just so people know that was live. Stacking these up in real time. That was 9 shots of liquor there. 9 shots of Fireball, all for reaching that infamous 9,000 subscribers. But you know, Sam, the flock, they deserved it. They earned it. We did it for them. So.
And proud of you for, speaking it into existence.
Didn't get it on myself either. We still got 2 more segments to go.
That's progress. People know if you're a real one, you know that's not always that's not always a given here with Tyler.
No.
We're walking the walk. We're not just talking the talk here.
Exactly. Courtney says TJ is in rare form here. Maybe rare for the flock, but you know what? It's just another Tuesday at the Chat Sports office as far as I'm concerned. Name a wide receiver the Ravens should add, whether it's in the draft or free agency, maybe it's a trade. Maybe you like the idea of Courtland Sutton or OBJ potentially. Who would you like to see the Ravens add? Joshua says OBJ gets hurt too much. I would even trade for Allen Robinson. Sam, Allen Robinson took a significant drop-off this past year with the Rams. To me, that's a red flag for any team that's looking at Allen Robinson.
Yeah, there was a while there where you're like, this guy is incredibly underrated as a wide receiver. And then he goes out to the Rams. Well, his last season with the Bears, and then his 2 years with the Rams, was it just one season? But he did nothing.
Just 1 year, yeah.
It might as well have been 2 years. He did nothing. And so, all of a sudden, his market's a lot drier than it was 2 years ago when he was coming off back-to-back 1,000-plus yard seasons.
Right. Yeah, it's a very good point.
If you throw sixth-round pick, seventh-round pick, honestly, might maybe get it done with his salary. I'd imagine the Rams would probably eat some of that up. You consider it maybe as a low-end wide receiver 2 or a top wide receiver 3, but his value is shot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great point. Our mailbag segment coming up in just a bit. Use hashtag Ravens, or you can super chat to be a part of our mailbag that we'll get to here in just a bit.
Right now, we've only got 2 questions in the queue.
Got 2. I need some more questions.
We need more questions, but also means if you ask a question, but especially B, if you send a super chat, you're definitely going to be the next guy up.
So there you have it. Hear that from producer Sam? If you guys use hashtag Ravens, you are getting on the mailbag. But if you super chat, you're going to jump to the front of the line and get to the mailbag first. So I'm seeing Joshua, Mike, Kenneth, some of these others. You guys are making good comments, but we can't put them on the show unless you use the hashtag Ravens or super chat. So use hashtag Ravens or super chat, and we will get you on our mailbag that we'll get to. We'll start here in just a moment from right now. We got 50 people watching so far. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. Thanks for spending it here on the channel this afternoon. Get your questions in as we get this mailbag started coming up in just a few moments from right now. Let's see. So mailbag questions. Let's see. Who's got questions here? I'm seeing Joshua, Baltimore, Get Up, Mike, Kenneth, Courtney. Y'all use that hashtag Ravens or Super Chat so we can get this mailbag going and get your questions on the show. So that's how that will work. We'll get to that mailbag coming up in just a few moments. Also, later on, we have our first mock draft of the day. I say first mock draft. Only mock draft of the day. Third mock draft that we've done for the channel. 3.0 is coming up next. James, BJ, great job, guys, using the hashtag Ravens. We can use that on the mailbag now that you got your the hashtag Ravens in. So for anyone else wondering how to get those questions in, do what James and BJ did and use the hashtag Ravens. And if you think of a question as we're going along through this mailbag, you can still use the hashtag Ravens or Super Chat to get those questions in. So that's how we do it. Sam, so we got a couple more that came in. We still need a few more questions, or we good to go?
Listen, the more questions, the merrier. At this point, if you ask a question, chances are you're going to get on. So fire away, but we've got a few here in the queue, at least to start. Okay.
All right. So we'll get this thing started. Hashtag Ravens or Super Chat to get on our live mailbag as we answer your questions. Coming up next here on the Ravens Rundown, Tyler Jones, Sam Brown here with you on this Tuesday afternoon. Let's get started. Time for another award-winning mailbag edition of the Ravens Rundown. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up on today's show, we're going to answer your questions that you send us in our live edition of the Ravens Rundown, where people get in the chat, they use the hashtag Ravens, they super chat, and they get their questions answered in real time. And subscribers, they know when we go live because they get notified about it, and so they join us for our live shows. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and join the 9,000 plus that are subscribed to the channel and be a part of our award-winning mailbags here on the live shows. Let's get to our first question today. This one comes from James. James wants to know, hashtag Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Any thoughts on the Florio comments that Lamar is ready to move on? Of course, one would have to say this to get actual offer sheets, but concerning nonetheless. Here's what I would say. Here's what I would start with. Consider the source in Mike Florio here, okay? If we're talking about the best NFL insiders out there, the newsmakers that know what they're talking about, Mike Florio is usually not one of them, okay? I mean, let's be real with you. Mike Florio, I have a lot of skepticism about, as I think most people that follow the insider game closely do, and a lot of his reporting is a little sus at times, and some of the things he puts out there is just not very good. It's not very well verified, from Mike Florio. So take that with a grain of salt, if you will. With that said, the idea that Lamar is ready to move on of some sorts, I think that could be the case. I wouldn't rule that out. But remember, if he really was ready to move on, he could have said, demanded a trade of some sorts or told the Ravens, I'm not going to negotiate or something like that. The fact that he's still waiting here and has a chance to be back in Baltimore, that tells me that, something's not accurate here, that something is wrong. I lean towards that Florio is wrong in this, but we'll see. Thanks, James. BJ writes in, I started playing Madden franchise mode, and I've become a wide receiver for the Ravens and currently have 11 touchdowns, just finished the 9th week. Well, I think the Ravens could probably use you at receiver, BJ. With your success at Madden, who's to say that you wouldn't have success with being on the Ravens field with how much they need receiver help at this point? With that said, BJ, I think the Ravens wide receiver room, I know that free agency kind of got off to a slow start at this point, but I would expect the Ravens receiver room next year, when it's all said and done, when we get through the offseason, to look a whole lot different, comparably speaking, to what we saw last year. Yes, you get Rashad Bateman back, but really, Demarcus Robinson, you want to roll with him? Some of these other guys, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, James, some of these other cats that have been on this team, I got a lot of concerns about. So whether it's you playing receiver or somebody else out there, I think the Ravens need to make some wholesale changes. And whether it's the draft, some trades, heck, even some guys that are still out there in free agency, be patient. The Ravens will make some moves at the receiver position. They have to improve. Mike says, do we have any chance to sign Odell Beckham? So at the time of this recording, OBJ says that he's not looking for $20 million, but he sure wants more than $4 million. I think OBJ, the possibility of him coming to the Baltimore Ravens, is all dependent on what the Ravens get done with Lamar Jackson. I don't think that OBJ is wanting to come to Baltimore if Lamar is not there. I think it's Lamar that makes that attractive for him, based on when you look at the teams that OBJ has been interested in, that he's kind of talked to of some sorts. All of them have pretty decent quarterback play when you look at some of these other teams. So I think more than likely if you want to bring OBJ in, you got to finish this Lamar situation, get a resolution of some sorts first before you can bring in OBJ. Should Baltimore sign OBJ? What do you think? If you want them to sign OBJ, type OBJ for yes. If you don't want them to sign OBJ, type no BJ for no. That's OBJ for yes. That's no BJ for no. Let me know in the comments section what you think. Kenneth writes, who do you see us getting at QB1 if Lamar wants out? Kenneth, great question there. So this is pretty interesting, right? You look at the free agent quarterbacks. Let's kind of break them down one by one. Derek Carr, of course, ended up with the New Orleans Saints. Baker Mayfield ended up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sam Darnold is with Carolina. Jimmy G is with Las Vegas. All the free agent top quarterbacks pretty much all gone at this point. Then you look at the other ones. Geno Smith ended up going back to Seattle. Aaron Rodgers, who was a trade candidate, sounds like he's going to the New York Jets. So basically, of all the veterans, you don't have a choice. There's not any veteran out there. I guess you could roll with Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. That's an option. He's probably the best backup option that you have of the veterans that are out there. With that said, if Lamar is gone, then I think you're either rolling with Tyler Huntley, or you are looking to the draft. Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, whoever's available of that bunch. If Lamar is gone, I think it's Huntley or it's one of those guys, unless you were to make a trade with a team that already has a quarterback and wants Lamar, like if they're looking to upgrade, like a Tannehill or a Kirk Cousins. Long answer, but I think that's what the quarterback options are for the Ravens at this point. Courtney says, if Lamar moves on, should we go with Stroud or Richardson? Well, I think that there's a pretty decent chance that with the number 1 pick, the Carolina Panthers are going to go with C.J. Stroud. It sounds like that they really like what C.J. Stroud brings to the table. They like his game, the arm talent, the size, the athleticism, all that stuff. He looks the part. But if they don't go that route, then you start to open up a can of worms. Remember, C.J. Stroud, before Carolina moved up to number 1, everybody was projecting him to having a possibility of sliding in the draft because Anthony Richardson was moving up in the draft. So if you made me choose between the two, I would go C.J. Stroud over Anthony Richardson. With that said, the more likely scenario, I think, would be the Ravens finding themselves with Anthony Richardson. I think he's the one that's more likely to end up in Baltimore if it were between these two because of Stroud's chances of going number 1. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going number 1. I like Stroud better than Anthony Richardson. I think Stroud's a much more accurate quarterback. Anthony Richardson really struggles when it comes to accuracy and getting the football down the field. He's a heck of an athlete, but I have my concerns with him as a passer. So that's what I would say. Ravens jerseys on sale now while supplies last, whether you want to rock out with Lamar Jackson in the black uniform or if you want to represent Odafe Owe in the purple uniform. Maybe it's Ray Lewis, Mark Andrews, some of these throwback jersey colors, whatever it may be. We have everything covered for all Baltimore Ravens fans in all shapes and sizes. We got you covered. Whether you want to represent some of the current players or some of the Ravens of old, doesn't matter. We got you covered as you can get your jerseys now. I know it's the offseason, but there's no offseason for the flock out there. You can represent your favorite Ravens players. Get your jerseys today. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. What are you waiting for? We got them all in one place. On sale now. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. Whitty writes in, what do you think about a quarterback like Hooker or McKee and draft a wide receiver or a corner in round 1? Hendon Hooker from Tennessee is coming off that ACL injury. And if you're the Ravens and you're looking to draft a quarterback, it's because Lamar Jackson's gone, right? You don't have time to waste. You can't be sitting around and waiting for a Hendon Hooker to come off an ACL injury. Not to mention he's already like 25 years old anyway. McKee, I don't think is that great, to be honest, so I'm not even going to give him the time of day. With that said, wide receiver or corner, I prefer wide receiver, but corner's in need as well. Kind of depends on, too, what are the Ravens going to find? I think they're still going to make a signing of some sorts in free agency. If it's like Rock Ya-Sin, for example, then you don't have the need at corner necessarily that you had before. At wide receiver, if you get OBJ or something like that, then you don't necessarily have to go get the Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnstons, Jackson Smith, and Jigsbys of the world. So we'll see. So with that said, I prefer wide out over corner, but we'll see what the Ravens do. Jason writes, would you want Bijan in round 1? Bijan Robinson, terrific football player out of the University of Texas, the favorite school of producer Sam Brown. Bijan is incredible. I think that he's got a lot of talent. It is going to be something special in the National Football League. With that said, look what the Ravens are doing at running back. Okay? I mean, Gus Edwards just restructured his deal. J.K. Dobbins finished off the season strong. Heck, even Justice Hill is back. The Ravens are not prioritizing the running back position. Not saying they won't draft a running back later on, but as of right now, that doesn't seem to be their area of focus of some sorts, is that running back position at this point. So I don't think that the Ravens are going to go running back. And Bijan Robinson, as good as he is, I would say this. usually I'm opposed to drafting a running back in the first round. I think I am for Baltimore because you have other needs. I'm not opposed for other teams potentially to get a player like Bijan. But with that said, I don't think he's going to be around at 22. I think somebody is going to take a flyer on Bijan and go with him from there. So Bijan, great player, but I'd be shocked if he ends up as a Raven. Got to subscribe to the channel, folks. Look, we're doing these mailbags, doing these live shows every other week, and we have such a good time doing these mailbags. I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite things that we do. Subscribe to the channel, join our live mailbags, turn on notice so you never miss a moment. Simple as that. YouTube.com/RavensTV to subscribe today. Does not cost you a thing. Subscribe now. You'll be glad you did. Let's get to a super chat from Baltimore Get Up. That means I owe the wave. Here we go. Woo! I hate doing the wave, but if you guys want that, we'll do it. $5 super chat from Baltimore Get Up says, my hope we trade Patrick Queen for DeAndre Hopkins in some kind of deal. Draft Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. Draft Bryce Ford, Wheaton, or Puka Nuka with a late pick. Okay, so there's a lot to dissect there. Okay, I could see Patrick Queen traded. I really could. Depends on how confident the Ravens are in Malik Harrison. If they like what they see from Malik Harrison, then yeah, you can move on for Patrick Queen. I don't know if that's in a deal for D-Hop. I'd like to see D-Hop come to Baltimore potentially, but don't know if those two coincide. JSN would be good. That sounds good to me. Yeah, we'll see what the Ravens do, but Baltimore Get Up, I think you got some really good ideas there potentially for the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see what they do. Thanks for sending us the super chat there. Here's another wave for you, just because. All right, another one from Underwood here writes, Sari, what are the chances now that another team comes in with an offer for Lamar? I don't think the chances are very high at this point. Now, with that said, it only takes one team, right? It only takes one team to break the mold, and teams could change their mind. I know that the discussion right now is that there's collusion among these teams in the NFL and that they're all on the same page, that they don't want to offer guaranteed contracts and such. But think about the NFL ownership, right? These are all billionaires. And, you know, they could stick it to each other. I mean, Jim Irsay has stepped out of line from the rest of the NFL at times. He needs a quarterback. Maybe the Colts could do that. Maybe it's the Titans or the Vikings that it looks like you think that they are going to hold on to their quarterbacks, but maybe they have a change of heart and find a situation that suits them. So we'll see, but I don't think we're going to see another offer, but that could change. What's your confidence level? Lamar returns to the Ravens next year? Scale it for me, 1 through 10 in the comments section. How likely you think it is Lamar is back? I'd put it at about an 8 right now. What say you? Put a number on it. Chances Lamar is back next season. Mary writes, any chance of re-signing Marcus Peters? Marcus Peters, I think, is kind of your last resort of some sorts when it comes to being your CB2, your other outside corner. Here's what I mean by that. You got young guys on the free agent market, like a Rock Sin, right, who I prefer over Marcus Peters, that is just now starting to enter his prime potentially. He's out there. You look at the draft, and you have, Christian Gonzalez from Oregon, Joey Porter Jr., Devin Witherspoon, a number of these guys here. I would look at all those guys before I'd look at taking the money it takes to pay Marcus Peters. If he wants to come back and play for a discount, maybe, but Marcus Peters is older now, and he also is at a situation where I would say that he's kind of lost his step of some sorts, and he's dealt with injuries here. It's going to have to be a deal where he's not taking a whole lot of money to bring back Marcus Peters. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to roll it out. Mark writes, odds on picking Stetson Bennett with a late rounder. Monk can turn him into a potential Heisman winner. Stetson Bennett, are we really doing this? Are we really going there? Stetson Bennett. Oh, my gosh. Don't get me started on Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett is not an NFL quarterback. I don't want him on my team as a backup. If you want Stetson Bennett just because he won 2 national titles, you don't know ball. Okay? Simple as that. Stetson Bennett, no. I get that there's the Monken relationship and all that. We say potential Heisman winner. Was he really, though? I know he got an invite, but that should have been Hendon Hooker, not him getting that invite. Stetson Bennett, no, not going to do it for me. I'm not going that route. Stetson Bennett, no thanks. Today is Big Bang Day. Shout out to Darwin himself. Big Bang Day. Do you believe in the Big Bang? Y for yes, in for no. Producer Sam, what do you think? Did the Big Bang happen?
I feel like we're opening a can of worms here that I'm not sure if we want to open. This is gonna turn into chat politics in the chat real quick, which I don't know if we want to do. My answer is no comment. Next question.
Did the people come first before the dinosaurs? Did the Big Bang happen before then? Like, there's a lot of questions that people have answers to and want to know. I'm very curious. Today is Big Bang Day. What's the chat think? Did it happen? Did it not? Very curious. We'll see.
You knew exactly what you were going to turn this into when you put this question in today.
Oh, like when I was looking up what the national holidays were today, and it was Big Bang Day, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is a great topic. I'm sure we'll get some interesting comments on this.
So
far, nobody's taken the bait. I want to see. I'm going in with this with an open mind. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to read what you guys have to say. I made a comment the other day saying something. I was doing a story for Seahawks, and the Seahawks made a move, and I said they started off free agency with a big bang, making Darwin proud. And somebody said something to the effect of, "You idiot, Darwin had nothing to do with a big bang." So let me know. What are you guys thinking? Take the bait and answer this question in the chat of what you guys think, if the Big Bang happened or not, yes or no. No judgment here. Getting some more comments on some of the mailbag stuff. Floyd said we need a big body receiver. Honestly, an Anquan Bolden type. Also, Lord, please sign back Lamar. Floyd, I understand where you're coming from. Baltimore Get Up says he's 6 foot, 235. His height is not the biggest, but that weight is decent. All right, here we go. Jamal took the bait. Jamal says no. Can't believe people still believe oversized lizards were here.
There we go. This is what we need.
This is what we're looking for. This is what we're looking for.
Someone's got to push the envelope.
Somebody's got to respond to Jamal. Jamal has put this out there. What's going to be next? Tex is also in the house with us. Tex, do you have any thoughts?
I'll jump one more. The moon is not real.
The moon not real?
No, it's
people are talking.
It's fake.
Was the moon landing fake?
No, the government just added a big light in the sky.
Tex, you have any thoughts?
I think that it is not real. Fake news.
The moon not real?
Yeah.
What about the Big Bang? Did it happen?
No.
Did not happen. Okay. All right. Romeo, Ravens will get Bryce Young in round 6. No. Sorry, Romeo. Hate to break it to you. Not going to be around then, but nice try. Let's go ahead and get to our mock draft, where we will be reacting. I'll give you my picks for the Ravens for every draft pick. This is my 3rd mock draft for Baltimore. How this works, before we get to it real quick, Sam. So we do these simulators. I put it in the Pro Football Focus simulator. And have you noticed they have the custom settings on the side and on the simulator? And so I made a point to bring down the crazy or surprise factor. I wanted this to be as real as possible.
I think that's one thing that's tough with simulators, is that they all base it off of different prospect rankings. Some of them aren't always updated. And then, you've got the aspect of the trades, the craziness, quote unquote, of the draft. This is, I think, a good mock draft in terms of it's real. It's much more realistic. Like, you're finding actual player ranges for these players where they might fall. And sometimes some of these simulators just have these random prospects that are in round 4 that are still available that Mel Kiper had in his first-round mock earlier this morning. It's weird.
Now,
it's
we've
a weird
seen
system.
things where Malik Willis was projected to go top 10 last year and didn't go to, 4th round?
I mean, that was the quarterbacks itself were it felt like an entirely different story last year around that entire market. But yeah, Kalijah Cansey is one popular guy. I've seen
him all over the place.
Yeah, there's some simulators where he's still available in round 4 or 5. He's going to go top 50.
So we're going to give you as real of a mock draft as we can here in just a second. Floyd says, do you believe that the Meg is still in the ocean? I don't know what that means. I'll go yes. Pass with a $5 super chat. What's good, brother? What's good, Past? Just tuned in, but yeah, if Baltimore can get Cam Sutton's already gone. Cam Sutton's with
He's with the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions. Yeah.
Unfortunately. That'd be a good move, honestly, in the secondary.
Past, you had a good idea, but the Ravens didn't get to it in time. He's with the Lions now. Keep up the great work. Past, thanks for that. Oh, you're the wave here. There we go.
Do it like you mean it.
Here we go.
Oh!
There we go, Past. There's the wave for you. All right, let's go ahead and get to our mock draft here. Time for Mock Draft 3.0 here on the Ravens Rundown. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Coming up on today's show, I am going to run through my latest mock draft for the Baltimore Ravens and kind of how this works, just to give you perspective on it. We went through the simulator on Pro Football Focus. I manually adjusted the settings to make sure we got the most realistic mock draft we could give you and not have the crazy shenanigans happen where somebody's available when they shouldn't be. So we want to give you the realest mock draft we could make here on the show. We'll bring that to you in just 1 second. Before we do, got to make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to the Ravens Rundown, what are you waiting for? We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens each and every day with the latest news and rumors. We're talking trades, free agency. We're getting you ready for the draft. If you haven't subscribed already, you need to be. Does not cost you a thing. YouTube.com/RavensTV. You want more draft coverage? This is the channel for you. Subscribe now. YouTube.com/RavensTV. So we are going to simulate every pick for the Ravens. This is the first mock draft we've done since the first week of free agency concluded. So with that, some teams obviously are going to make changes to their draft strategy based on who they ended up signing. So before we get to the Ravens pick, here were the last 5 picks, leading up to this pick by Baltimore. Brian Branch goes 17 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. 18, the Lions go with Cansey, the defensive lineman from Pitt. Jones goes to the Bucks out of Georgia at 19. They get help on the O-line for Baker. 20, Brian Breesy goes to the Seattle Seahawks, the defensive lineman from Clemson. And then Deonte Banks, who's been talked a lot about for the Ravens, ends up going 1 spot ahead to the LA Chargers at 21. So that leaves us with the best available at this point, based on how the draft has played out to this point, for the Ravens at 22. Nolan Smith, who was the freak of the combine, right, with what he was able to do, edge rusher from Georgia. Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison are your 2 wideouts available at this point. Then you got Bijan Robinson still on the board from Texas. And then there's Will McDonald, the edge rusher from Iowa State, who, as a Big 12 fan, I'm so glad is out of the league now. With that said, with the 22nd pick in the NFL draft, the Ravens select Jordan Addison, wide receiver, Southern California. Yes, I differ from what Mel Kiper Jr. did earlier this week. Remember, Mel, with this pick, had the Ravens taking Zay Flowers. I personally like Jordan Addison a little bit better, so I go Addison here. Number 3 receiver, number 22 overall player on Mel's big board. Started his career at Pitt, playing alongside Kenny Pickett. You may have heard of him. Then transferred to USC this past year to pair up with Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley. Was a Biletnikoff Award winner, first-team All-American back when he was at Pittsburgh. A dynamic receiver, Jordan Addison is. And I like that he can do it all. He can be a deep threat. He can be in the slot. He can be a possession receiver. He's a little bit of everything. You look at the statistics of what Jordan Addison has done in his career. Last year was a little bit of a down year of sorts. there at USC. But remember, there was all sorts of other weapons that Caleb Williams had there with USC as opposed to when he was at Pitt. When he was at Pitt, when he was the guy, he had nearly 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns. That was insane. Last year, still a really good year, close to 15 yards per reception compared to 16 yards the year prior. So similar number there. 8 touchdowns, 875 yards in 59 receptions in 11 games played. Jordan Addison is that guy, not to mention the connections to the state of Maryland. This would be a homecoming of sorts for Jordan Addison. I love this idea of bringing Jordan Addison to the Baltimore Ravens. That's the pick I would make in this situation. Should the Ravens draft Jordan Addison? This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Y for yes, in for no. Should the Ravens select Jordan Addison or not? Let me know in the comments section. So now we skip ahead to the third round. Remember, the Ravens don't have a second-round pick. And in the third round, pick 86, we fill a need at corner. That's where we find Travius Hodges Tomlinson with this selection at 86 overall. Hodges Tomlinson won the Thorpe Award. And remember last year, Kobe Bryant, who's now with the Seahawks and was at Cincinnati, he won the Thorpe Award and slipped all the way to the fourth round. Seahawks are glad they got him, by the way, although much of the attention's been made about Tariq Woolen. This could be a similar circumstance here. Think about all the corners that we've talked about in this draft, whether it's Witherspoon or Gonzalez or Joey Porter Jr. and all that. And somehow Hodges Tomlinson has slipped up between those. Now, granted, he's a little bit shorter. He's like 5'9", but he was a first-team All-American, 3-time first-team All-Big 12, playing it against those dynamic Big 12 offenses too, and yet he was still able to put up the numbers that he did and was that good a receiver. I don't care if he's a little bit undersized. I think this is a sneaky good find in the third round. Now we go to the fourth round. That is where we go to Clemson and take edge rusher. We get KJ Henry in the fourth round from Clemson. PFF had him as an All-American third-teamer last year. He was second-team All-ACC. And one of the things I think when you're the Baltimore Ravens that you have to look at, that you have to evaluate of some sorts with this team, maybe more so than other teams, is durability. Are you going to be there when it matters? Are you going to be available when this team needs you? Because the Ravens the last 2 seasons have been, I think, the most unlucky team when it comes to the injury front of any team in the NFL. And good news on KJ Henry, you talk about reliability. He played 58 games in his career at Clemson. That was the most ever by a defensive end. That's a lot of football. That means he was available a lot. So a guy that you can count on that's played at a high level here, fills a need, the edge rusher spot. I like the possibility of KJ Henry here. Name a player the Ravens should draft. I know that we got a few names that we're discussing here, but who else comes to mind? Who would you like to see the Ravens pick up and add to this team in 2023? Let us know who you'd like to see Eric DeCosta pick up in the comment section below. Folks, you got to get one of these Ravens jerseys. If you want to rock out with your flock out, I got you covered. You can get them all at chatsports.com/Ravens jersey, whether it's the purple, maybe it's even the gold, maybe it's the black uniforms. Maybe you want to represent Mark Andrews or Lamar, or maybe you want to throw it back to Ray Lewis. Maybe you want to go with a current guy like Marcus Williams. Any of those options that I just mentioned, we have you covered on all of them. You can get yours today. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. That's chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. Get yours now while supplies last. You'll be glad you did. All right, let's get to the final couple picks here for the Ravens. This is where we find Keaton Mitchell, a fifth-round pick for the Ravens at 157 overall from East Carolina. By the way, I love the East Carolina Pirate logo. I mean, that just looks badass. With that said, Keaton Mitchell, if you don't know much about him, it's okay. Keaton Mitchell could be a sneaky good find for the Ravens. I know that they're already bringing back, a number of players this year with at that running back position with J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. All those guys are coming back. But hear me out on this. There could still be a spot for Keaton Mitchell and might work his way into the rotation. Remember, the Ravens have had quite a few injuries at the running back spot. So they need more options potentially. With that said, here's the scouting report from Lance Erline. He mashes the gas pedal. Don't you like hearing that? And gets to top speed quickly. He can outflank defenses and chalk up a long run if defenses aren't ready for him. However, he needs a clear point of entry inside and isn't built to withstand the punishment that goes along with interior running in the NFL. So I'm not asking him to be my every down back. That's okay. But if he can come in and relieve some of these guys and be a rotational back, that's fine with me. So I am more than happy with taking Keaton Mitchell in the 5th round and being another piece in that backfield for this Baltimore Ravens team. Next up, our final pick. The Ravens don't have a 7th-round pick. They do have a 6th-round pick, however. And we fill a need at the offensive tackle spot. That is where we find, with the 199th selection overall, Asim Richards in the 6th round. Now, here's an interesting note, too. Pro Football Focus, in their player rankings, has Richards as their 199 player. And we got him with the 199th pick. So we didn't overdraft anybody, for the record. With that said, here's Lance Erline's breakdown of Richards. Pass protection concerns will be diminished with a move inside, but there will be work needed when it comes to getting his feet in position to slow interior rushers. Richards' drive, blocking, potential position, versatility, give him a shot at a backup role with upside. And that's what we're looking for. The Ravens, for the most part, have their offensive line figured out, but they need some more pieces to back guys up. We've seen Ronnie Stanley deal with his fair share of injuries over the last few years. Even Tyler Linderbaum, who we're all pretty high on, what he brings to the table as a center and what he's going to do in this league, even he's had a few injuries here and there. You look at that offensive line, you have to have multiple options. Richards could be a guy that you move around that could be a rotational piece, could be a good backup. I like the idea of Richards there. So to recap, 5 picks, but we made the most of our 5 picks for the Ravens. We went Addison with our first pick in the 1st round, wide receiver from USC. 3rd round, we went with Hodges Tomlinson, the corner from TCU. We went KJ Henry with our pick at 124, the edge rusher from Clemson. We went running back with Keaton Mitchell from East Carolina in the 5th round. And then we wrapped up at the offensive line going with Richards, the offensive tackle from North Carolina. So, how did I do? What do you think of this Ravens mock draft that we just brought you? Grade it for me in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. If you loved it, give me that A. Tell me why you loved it. If you hated it, that's fine too. Won't hold it against you. Type F in the comments. Let me know, A, B, C, D, or F, how you would grade the mock draft for your Baltimore Ravens. No trades this time. Didn't get any trade offers, but nonetheless, that's what we're dealt. Let me know what you think in the comments section. As always, you can act with me on social media and tell me if you think I'm an idiot with my mock draft. That's okay. If you loved it, that's fine too. Let me know on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there, and I'll see you next time right here on the Ravens Rundown. All right, so we are through all of our segments. How would you grade my mock draft? Devin says F. Devin, what did I do to you? What'd you hate? What did I do, Devin? Kenneth says F. Kenneth, why? What did I do? What'd you hate about it? Baltimore Get Up says B. Okay, I'll take a B. Joshua says F. Okay, I'm fine if all you give me Fs, but I want to know reason. Tell me why. Tell me why you would give me an F. Producer Sam, back me up. How did I do? Was it that bad? PFF gave me an A- for the record.
You're getting ripped apart a little bit here. Well, Jamal gave you an A+. There you go. You got a C from Dwayne Cobbs in there. So we'll average that out to about a C, C-, which, to be fair, feels like about where a lot of teams draft. Like, it's really hard to find a team with an A+ draft, like killed every single pick. It's hard. That's the beauty of the NFL draft. It's a crapshoot past, pick 30, and you just want more. I wish if I were the Ravens, honestly, as I was sitting there going through that mock draft, I was like, man, are there any trades they could do to get more picks? 5 feels like a bit too few for a team with an uncertain future under center. If Lamar Jackson's gone, granted, you'll get 2 first-round picks back, but you also need some of those complimentary picks and some of those complimentary pieces. I did also, Tyler, want to hit this super chat from Past real quick one more time, because we sat here this entire time thinking, oh, it's Cam Sutton. He's been gone now. It's Cortland.
Cortland.
He's talking about Cortland. So He mentioned that in the comments and wanted to bring that back up so we can get a fresh take on Courtland Sutton.
Okay, Cortland Sutton. Thank you, Past, for clarifying. Our minds were so set on Cam Sutton from free agency. We saw that. But Cam's, who we were talking about, Courtland Sutton. Blonde moment there, I guess. Let's try again. What's good, brother? Just tuned in with thanks. If Baltimore can get Courtland Sutton, then they shouldn't hesitate on the trigger. Keep up the good work. This is my concern. As stated, in case you're just joining us, like Past, who missed this earlier, I don't know, Sam, about a first-round pick for a 28-year-old receiver. That seems to be the asking price from Denver. If they can come down to a 3, maybe even throw in a player or something. Maybe it's a second next year. Okay, but 1 seems pretty high, I think, for Courtland Sutton.
I was talking with our Broncos host on our Broncos live show with Matthew Peterson. I'm not even sure I would trade a first for Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. Like, if you're trading a first-round pick, you're getting the value of a potential, not potential, but a proven number 1 receiver.
Right.
Because that's what you're looking for in the first round. That's where, whenever you do redrafts and all that stupid stuff, which I hate redrafts. They're so dumb.
Right.
But all those receivers that are in round 1 are guys who are proven number 1 guys. Jerry Jeudy hasn't proven that he's in that conversation. I think he can get in that tier eventually, and I think his ceiling, personally, I think is as a top-end 1B, but I don't know that he's ever going to get into that conversation of being a surefire number 1 in the likes of Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams, and I think CeeDee Lamb will get there eventually. I think he's just right outside that conversation. I don't know that I see Jerry Jeudy getting there, and I'm a Broncos fan, so yeah. I've seen it.
That's fair. It's a good assessment there, Sam. If you liked what you saw today, maybe you hated it, that's fine too. Got to make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to put this sub-link in the chat right now. We got over 9,000 subscribers on the channel today, but I think we can do more. And go ahead and hit that sub button and be a part of what we're doing each and every day here on the channel. We have a lot of fun. We're doing these live shows each and every week, having a lot of fun doing it. We got our daily segments as well. Doesn't cost you a thing. Go ahead and hit that sub button below. And certainly appreciate it. It's the little things like that help and go a long way. Sublink is in the chat there. Sam, anything else, or are we all good here?
I think it's about it. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. I hope Lamar Jackson stays as a Baltimore Raven, but either way, I hope the Ravens win some games next year. Let's get back to the playoffs, get back to the way things were.
And speaking of Lamar, we mentioned live shows, by the way. Whatever Lamar decides, whether he moves on or gets a new contract, we're going to go live here on the channel. Doesn't matter day or time where. Whenever we get an official answer of what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson, we are going to be live and covering it here on the channel. We'll have you covered. So stay tuned for that. Whenever that decision comes, we'll take care of it here on Ravens Rundown. Got to go. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. So long.